The Bitcoin halving is simply not priced in, and if we look at previous market cycles, we'll understand why. Because every time we see a halving event, many months after the halving event, we tend to see fantastic price appreciation in Bitcoin's price action. It starts off with reaccumulation around old all-time highs in preparation for the parabolic upside in the cycle, and we're currently at this moment in the current cycle, at this moment in the cycle, at this moment, and you can see we are really at around old all-time highs, preparing to transition out of the reaccumulation phase, which we're currently in, and transition into the new parabolic phase of the cycle. So we'll be talking about this chart and a lot more. So subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this content if you enjoy content like this going forward, and let's dive right into it. So historically, many months after the halving, we tend to see reaccumulation at around old all-time highs. And you can see in 2016, for example, these are candles that didn't really offer much price appreciation, just lots of sideways price action, not much acceleration in the uptrend. And the same thing goes here as well. Lots of just clustering in the price action, not really enjoying exponential price action. But this sort of consolidation and reaccumulation is what prepares price for price appreciation towards the upside. And it's really important to note that these are non-logarithmic scales, so we're not going to experience this sort of price action in this chart here because this is simply a different scale on the chart. But nonetheless, we're probably going to see some phenomenal upside going forward because generally the principles remain the same, that we tend to see this parabolic price action take place. It's just that the scales are going to be a bit different here on this chart, but nonetheless, it is this sort of reaccumulation around old all-time highs that forms a base at the previous point of rejection in the previous bull markets. This is where we started the old bear market. And this is exactly where we're forming a base from which we can springboard into new all-time highs and beyond. And that's the real crux of this chart that we really need to take home and remember, because after the halving, many months after the halving, we actually spend a lot of time consolidating here, but it's this consolidation that precedes parabolic upside to new all-time highs and beyond. And this is exactly the same sort of chart that is showcasing us that we tend to see in green circles. Simply reaccumulation around old all-time highs. This was a rejection into a bear market. Here we simply formed this as a base and then rallied to new all-time highs. Same thing here, reaccumulation in an area that prompted an old bear market. So we rejected from this new all-time high at the time, bear market, reaccumulation here, and then rally into new bull market parabola before peaking in the bull market and then actually breaking this region once again in the future and then rallying higher. And just notice how these reaccumulation periods tend to repeat across time every 4 years like clockwork, and we're in a reaccumulation period right now. Granted, it is one of the longest reaccumulation periods in history, but nonetheless, the principles remain the same, that this is a reaccumulation phase that's going to proceed further upside in this new cycle. Really important to understand that this reaccumulation phase precedes upside, but that this upside is diminishing over time, as we can see. So in each cycle, we're going to get reaccumulation, of course, but then parabolic upside, but with diminishing returns, which is why it's important to emphasize that we could see a diminished cycle as well, but still the prospect for reward is simply really impressive and something to really look forward to. So these reaccumulation periods, they do tend to last a certain amount of time, and historically we've seen them last a very specific amount of time. In 2020, just notice how the reaccumulation phase lasted 161 days. To be absolutely exact, it was 163 days before we broke out from this reaccumulation phase, which is marked in red, the post-halving reaccumulation phase preceding the post-halving parabolic phase. In the cycle, you can see that price expansion took place, really impressive upside, fantastic return on investment. This is where we see the most emotionality, FOMO, greed, you name it, take place. This is emotional price action in graphic form, and it tends to take place 160 days after the halving. This was the case in 2020, and in 2016 this was also the case, but it took a little bit shorter amount of time, 154 days after the halving, where we broke out from this reaccumulation phase, retested the top of that range into new support before expanding in the parabolic phase of the cycle. So 2016, 154 days after the halving. 2020, 160 days roughly after the halving. And right now, we are currently 159 days after the halving. So according to 2016, we should have been breaking out some 5 days ago. According to 2020, we should be breaking out in the next 4 days or so. So really, we're on a cusp of a new macro uptrend. This is the transitional phase away from the reaccumulation phase, which lasted several months, and now we're slowly transitioning into the parabolic phase of the cycle. Whether it's going to be a picture perfect copy of the past, where we simply break out in the next few days, repeating 2020 historical tendencies, or whether we simply see price action consolidate a little bit longer but still get us to that parabolic phase of the cycle. It is breakout time, history is suggesting, and right now we've only just reclaimed the bottom of this range in an effort to expand across to the very top of this range, in an effort also to enable further upside into the parabolic phase of the cycle. And the time is ticking. We're running out of time in this reaccumulation phase. Not much more sideways price action to be enjoyed, because we saw multiple months of sideways already, and this is not out of the ordinary. It tends to occur across every cycle. 2020, 2016, we tend to see reaccumulation ranges across the cycle, in every cycle actually, and you can see that that's the case in 2020. But this general cycle has been a cycle of reaccumulation. Throughout 2020, we saw a lot of upside, or at least upside. Throughout 2023, we saw a lot of sideways reaccumulation ranges with fake breakdown signals, signaling bargain buying opportunities before further upsides to complete further reaccumulation ranges and still bargain buying opportunities. We've seen loads of these reaccumulation ranges take place, and this is the largest one arguably yet. Although if you were to really try and hone in on this and be exact, then this current range, well, it's almost equal to this range, and that's pretty phenomenal to see, because this is a copy-paste reaccumulation range, just what we've seen earlier on in 2024. So we have a lot of things really come into play. History may be repeating itself with a breakout from the reaccumulation phase 160 days after the halving. This reaccumulation phase is essentially a copy of what we're seeing right now, and if things really do repeat, maybe we do get an extra week or two of sideways consolidation. But it's a good problem to have that we could be breaking out sooner, within the next few days, later within the next week or two. It's a good problem to have, and Bitcoin is really well positioned after a period of not much going on, really well positioned for taking us to new all-time highs and beyond, and really accelerating in its uptrend, really experiencing a lot of FOMO, people adding into their positions into that strong uptrend, and the time is really to be reaccumulating. And I've been calling this the post-halving reaccumulation phase for a reason, because it's all about reaccumulation, and you don't want to be reaccumulating once we've seen parabolic upside, because that's where the FOMO takes place, and of course the return on investment becomes smaller and smaller as we experience the upside. But there are going to be loads of opportunities on the way to new all-time highs and beyond. We'll be seeing a lot of dips in the meantime, lots of corrections in the meantime. Maybe even those corrections are going to be quite deep, where we can be reaccumulating. But of course, you want to position yourself before this parabola takes place, because that's where the profit lies. It really is important to be reaccumulating in the reaccumulation phase, because once this phase is over, it's over. And then parabola lays ahead, and there's not much we can do, just FOMO in and hope for corrections to be buying on a discount. But even as we see these discounts, these pullbacks will occur, but we'll have less profit potential to experience. So if we are to buy on this dip here, then it's only this amount of profit potential, which is still impressive. I'm not going to say it's not, but you can see that with each dip in the parabola, there's lesser and lesser profit potential. to experience before we finally peak in the bull market and experience a year-long bear market. So a year-long bear market, well, that's really down the line. And that's the best thing about this, because we have still a full parabolic phase of the cycle still yet to enjoy. And we've really been talking about this cycle in a lot of detail over the past few months in the Rekt Capital newsletter. So if you really enjoy insights like this, that can really help you achieve financial freedom and help you stay ahead of the game, understand predictably what's going on in the chart, click on the link in the description down below to sign up to the free Rekt Capital newsletter. I promise you won't be disappointed with the cutting edge insights that we share there. It's for free. I'm sure you'll benefit, because here we're all here to really make the most of this fantastic period in the cycle, making sure that we're prepared to make the most of a period in a cycle that comes along once every 4 years. So really important to have access to the right resources and information, and as someone who's been in a cycle, or at least experienced multiple cycles, multiple Bitcoin cycles dating back to 2016, 2017, I'm here to help with my experience, to lend the proverbial hand and help you, guide you to make the most of this cycle. So feel free to check out the Rekt Capital newsletter in the link in the description down below. Click below, sign up, and enjoy all the insights that will be coming your way in the coming weeks and months, because we're here to make the most of this cycle, and let's do it together. In any case, that's about it. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.